Hi everyone. Today I'm going to share an incredibly interesting story with you. Can you believe that an angel could be wrong? In the story, the angel actually claimed that there was a strong bond between William and Sam, and even suggested that they might be soulmates waiting to connect. This statement left Sam blushing and William filled with confusion. And how will that old woman, Flora, who loves speaking in riddles, push forward this destined relationship? Chapter 85. His eyes finally settled on a large, duvet-covered lump on the bed. Without fully comprehending his actions, William stumbled toward the warm fit promised. His clumsy movements were far from stealthy, yet the sleeping werewolf remained undisturbed, lost in the depths of slumber. In his drunken haze, William failed to realize he had wandered into the wrong room. The potential consequences of invading a werewolf-fest territory never crossed his mind as he approached Sam's bed, oblivious to the danger he was courting. Meanwhile, Scott, concerned for his son's well-being, reached the top of the stairs. Assuming William had made it to his own room, he proceeded down the hallway, a glass of water in hand, ready to tend to his inebriated offspring. William unceremoniously collapsed onto the bed, causing the werewolf to stir slightly. "Shush," he slurred to himself, gripping the duvet tightly as he sought comfort in its warmth. Scott pushed open the door to William's bedroom, finding the light on but no sign of his son. The neat and tidy room offered no clues as he checked the bathroom, worry beginning to gnaw at him. "Will," he called out, his voice echoing in the silent house. As he glanced around, a memory tugged at his mind. Sam's bedroom door had been slightly ajar. A sense of dread washed over him as he considered the possibility that he stumbled into the wrong room. William's face sank into the pillow beside Sam's. Inhaling deeply, the werewolf-esque scent surrounded him, providing an odd sense of comfort. "I'm sorry," he mumbled, his words muffled by the pillow as the room began to spin. "Sam, wake up." Scott hurried back down the corridor, trying to maintain some semblance of quiet despite the late hour. He knew he had to find William quickly, acutely aware of how territorial werewolves could be, especially when their personal space was invaded. Sam's brow furrowed as an unfamiliar scent slowly permeated his room. Even in his deep sleep, the intrusion was enough to gradually pull his consciousness towards wakefulness. "Samuel," William slurred, drawing out the L sound. His drunken state left him ill, equipped to handle the situation. Yet some part of him knew exactly why he had sought out Sam's room. "Can you wake up now, William?" Scott hissed, spotting his son slouched on the bed next to the slumbering werewolf. "You're in the wrong room." Scott hesitated at the threshold, reluctant to enter but prepared to intervene if Sam woke up. "I want to talk to Sam, though," William protested, his hand clumsily landing on Sam's warm shoulder. "He wants to talk, William. You're not allowed in here," Scott insisted, his heart racing. He was all too aware of Sam's crush on his son, having noticed the werewolf-esque dazed, sparkly-eyed looks whenever William was around. If Sam were to wake now, his werewolf instincts might overpower his usually gentle nature, potentially leading to violence. Sam groaned softly, rolling onto his back. In his semi-conscious state, he cowed and discerned whether the voices he heard were part of a dream or reality, leaving him teetering on the edge of wakefulness. "Son, come on. You need to be in your own room." No, William whined. He was very good at acting childish when drunk. "I'm sleeping here." "You can't sleep here." "Please, Will. You need." Scott froze when Sam lifted a hand to rub his eyes. "Sam, talk to me." William cowed and helped but slur his words as he leaned over him, unaware of the dangers he could be in. Scott watched with intense eyes. He was sure of the outcome, but he would protect his child at all cost. "What?" Sam mumbled and slowly peeled his exhausted eyes open. The first thing to hit him was a different scent in his own room. Then his gaze fell onto a grinning William, sprawled across his bed. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. "What are you doing in my room?" I want to." William dropped his head onto the pillow next to his. letting his hair graze Sam's face. It was now apparent to the werewolf that he was drunk. He clenched his hands into fists and felt very protective of his space. "You need to leave." Someone pushed the door open and Sam suddenly watched Scott with wide eyes. "Do not move," he breathed. "William? Come on, son. It's not safe for you to be in here." Scott clenched his jaw, hoping that he would cooperate. "I know, Sam." William struggled to sit up and edged forwards. The alcohol was sinking further into his bloodstream. "I know you like me." Scott observed the situation as he tried to hug the wolf, but Sam pushed him away. But pain was vibrant in his expression. "Get out of my room," he yelled and pushed him off his bed. Scott stepped in when his son hit the floor, but Sam growled, causing him to jump back into the hallway. "You hurt me," William whimpered and rested on his knees, rubbing his shoulder. A lump formed in Sam's throat, but he couldn't cope. "William? Come to me, come to me," Scott breathed when Sam started to glare at him. He was worried that 𝐻ED changed into his wolf. "Why are you being so mean?" William slurred. However, the angry werewolf traits within Sam were rising, and he couldn't hold it back. Scott panicked when he jumped out of bed and roughly pulled him up in a crushing grip. "Oh, Sam, let go." He pushed the human into Scott, causing them to stumble and fall against the wall behind them. "Never come into my room again." He growled and slammed the door shut. But as soon as he faced the empty room, filled with his scent that he adored, Sam slowly lowered himself to the floor and allowed the sadness to overtake him. He hit the floor with his fist and teary eyes. "Oh God, oh God. 𝐻ED's gonna hate me," he whispered and covered his face with his hands. Scott put his arms around William, who now looked incredibly upset. Helping him to his room was the least of his worries. Poor Sam would loathe himself for treating William that way, even if he couldn't help it. But how much would William remember in the morning? After getting him onto the bed and under the duvet, Scott crouched next to him and moved some hair from his eyes. He studied his son, who was soon to be 20 years old. Where did the time go? It only felt like yesterday that he was a child, running around climbing trees and playing with his friends in the garden. Now he was a young adult and growing into a very respectable man. "Dad," William slurred and pulled the duvet up to his chin. I know who I am." "What do you mean?" Scott's voice was always incredibly calm and soothing. "Aunt," William turned onto his side so their faces were level with each other. "I think I'm bisexual." Scott's eyes barely changed. They only grew kinder, softer, and easier for his son to watch. "What makes you think so?" he asked with tenderness. "I like boys the way I like girls." Scott watched him cringe like it felt wrong to say it out loud. "It's perfectly normal to be bisexual. You don't have to be attracted to just one gender. There's plenty of people out there for you to love." Scott smiled. "If you're feeling confused about it, we can talk tomorrow, okay? I am confused." He slurred. "I thought I was straight you, until I met Sam. Sam is the reason you think you're bisexual." William reached out and hugged his dad. "I like the way he looks at me." He mumbled and closed his eyes. Scott rubbed his back and made sure to give him a meaningful hug. He thought that it was unusual how they are both drawn to each other, and it did leave him wondering if his son would one day be Sam's mate. You can't choose who you fall in love with. But for now, I think it's time you got some sleep. Pulling away, he picked up the glass of water and forced him to drink some. "I know you won't feel well in the morning, so try and get as much rest as you can." "Okay." William nodded and his head fell against the pillow. A room was still spinning and he was starting to feel a little sick. Scott kissed his forehead and sat down next to the bed on the floor. He wouldn't leave until he knew he was definitely asleep. "Night, Will. I'll be right here if you need anything." "I hate myself." Hunter stared at his beta wolf while Jacob was learning to use his powers in confidence with the help of Anthony. It was 9:30 in the morning and Sam was freaking out about what happened with William. "You shouldn't." Hunter crossed his arms and scanned the flower-filled garden. "He was in your room. I'd be angry too." "Yeah, but you're not in love with him. It hurt so much when I had to push him out." William was drunk. What is the likelihood that he will remember anything? And what is the likelihood that you'll be mates? Basically nothing. So you need to be stern with yourself and get over it. Sam stared at the ground. You say it like it's so easy. I didn't mean to fall in love with him. Hunter watched the sorrow in his eyes. He wanted his beta wolf to find love, but this was not the way. I know I'm being insensitive, but if you find your mate and it's not William, you can't still be in love with him. It'll tear you apart. You have to do what's best for yourself, and it's not latching onto a good-looking human. Yes, not just good-looking. He mumbled. Yes, so nice and kind. He laughs at my stupid jokes and can be just as hyper as me. He has all the time in the world for his brother, and I respect that. Sam groaned and pulled out a chunk of grass. There's just something about him, and I don't know what it is. Lunar love has a funny way of showing itself. Flora hummed and casually walked past the boys. There's a reason for everything. Never lose hope of that. Sam's eyes followed her until they Lillian, and a very rough-looking William, leaning against the garden door. His beautiful hazel eyes were staring right at him with barely any emotion. Did he hear what they were talking about? The beta wolf's heart was pumping hard in his chest. William ran a hand through his messy hair and walked over. He felt incredibly hungover, but surprisingly remembered everything from last night. Hunter watched as he sat in front of Sam. He had dark circles under his eyes from the lack of proper sleep. I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot for doing that to you last night. He croaked. What? Sam frowned. No, I'm the one who should apologize. I treated you poorly, because I was in your territory. I should have known better. Please don't be angry at yourself because I'm not scared of you, or upset, or worried. If anything, I'm embarrassed for trying to sleep in your bed. Sam chuckled, but he cowled and held back a distant frown. Will, last night you said that you knew I liked you. Why didn't you say anything? His voice was timid and he started to feel shy. Because I know that you shouldn't. I'm not your mate, so it's the point of liking me when you know it's never going to happen. Plus William took a breath. He had been thinking about what he talked about with his dad last night. He still wasn't really sure about his sexual orientation, but he did know that Sam needed to get over him, and the only way was to reject his love. You're not my type. You never will be. Sam's heart punctured in his chest, and Hunter saw his whole mood deflate right in front of him. But what if one day we are mates? His eyes tried to stay connected with his, but he was all heartbroken. Then it'll be wrong. But the chances are too small for you to be in this situation. It's not fair for you. Is right. Hunter rested a hand on his beta wolf's shoulder. I'm confident that you'll find a mate. But it most likely won't be William. You just have to accept that. Flora studied the boys with a twinkle in her eye. She and her daughter may require a gift of perception, but she adopts a little spark for love in her soul. And through her eyes, Sam has always been heading in the right direction, especially when searching for his mate. Chapter 𝐼𝐻 William's eyes glazed over as he sat on the leather couch. He focused on one thing, and that was Sam Fletcher, the beta wolf. All day it was awkward between them. He regretted being so blunt because he lied if he were into guys. Sam would be his type. hyper like him. Kind, funny, and very good looking. The fact that a werewolf shines a daring personality, and one that William would love to get to know a little better. He just didn't want to see him hurt because he can't see them being mates. Yes, they are drawn to each other, but surely it can't be because they are connected. Sam, can I talk to you for a minute? He questioned and stood up. Jacob and Hunter were also in the living room, but of course, they were in their own little bubble. Sure. Sam followed him, feeling a little nervous and disappointed that their friendship is slowly crashing and burning. William glanced around to find nobody in the corridor. Turning, Sam looked so concerned that he had to pull him into a hug. The werewolf was taller than him as he rested his head against his shoulder and wrapped his arms around his waist. I'm so sorry, he mumbled before he hugged back. Liking the way he smelled, he carried on with his apology. What I said this morning, I didn't mean it, but it was the only thing I could think of to make you question your feelings for me. William pulled back and looked up. Sam appeared to be more relaxed. am really flattered, and if you were a human then I would really consider dating you, because you are my type. But you're a werewolf and you need a mate. Not a boyfriend. Sam nodded and dared to take his hands. His fingers were cold and he longed to hold them until he could share his warmth. I know it's weird that I like you as much as I do, but it'll never change. He sighed and forced himself to make eye contact. I know that I can't get attached to people. I don't want a broken heart when I find my mate because I've fallen in love with someone else. I know a relationship can't develop between us, but we can be great friends. William smiled and nodded. He squeezed his warm fingers, wishing he could satisfy his needs. Of course, this has changed nothing between us. I just hope you find your mate soon because you deserve to be happy. Sam beamed from ear to ear. Even though it was wishful of him to view William as a possible mate, he feels a lot better after talking openly about it. So do you, Will. But I'm just gonna say this now. Whoever you end up dating, I will hate them. William laughed and let go of his hands. I would expect nothing less. He studied his bright blue eyes, loving the hint of sparkle returning to his gaze though. Can I throw sticks for your wolf now? No, get away from me. Jacob jumped on the bed as Hunter with a cheeky grin. They were in the bedroom, trying to amuse themselves from boredom. He held out his hand and allowed the big spider to dangle by a leg. It's more scared of you than you are of. You don't know how it feels. Stop holding it like that. You're gonna hurt it. But you're scared of it. So that doesn't mean I want it in yours. Just go and put it outside. Hunter stepped on the bed and Jacob bolted to the other side of the room. Oh, come on. Hunter stopped when Jacob started rubbing his hands together. I will shock you if you do not leave me alone. His eyes were confident in Hunter, being the affection-obsessed wolf that he was. Liked his bold attitude. No, you won't. I will. You won't. Don't test me. Hunter cocked his head to the side. They'll test you in bed. Jacob performed the eye roll of the century and stomped into the bathroom while his mate watched the spider settle up his arm. Is that a yes? Hunter. The werewolf laughed loud enough for him to hear and decided to simmer down. The window was open, so he just encouraged the spider to sit on the wall outside instead. Right? It's gone. He plopped onto a chair and looked around the empty room. It was slowly getting filled with Jacob's stuff because he doesn't have any belongings. What do you want to do today? Jacob stood in the bathroom doorway and eyed his hands with suspicion. Nothing. Well, Jacob started to fidget. I just want to spend the day with you. Doing nothing. Well, which? Well. Hunter crossed his arms with a smirk. I just want to spend the day with you. Doing you. Jacob's cheeks instantly turned into a beautiful crisp red. He mentally sank from embarrassment. You're so annoying. Yes, but you can't escape it. We're stuck together for life, you know. Jacob walked over with a shaking head. I feel so lucky. His voice bled with sarcasm. Hunter stood up and pulled their bodies together when they were close enough. He leant his face alongside his mate's until his lips traced his earlobe. Jacob shivered from affection. You are lucky. He then traced his lips down his jaw and onto his neck. Hunter stopped. His eyes were suddenly fixed on something behind Jacob, not expecting to see someone standing in his room. Slowly, he lifted his head. His eyes were surprised by the fact that he wasn't freaking out to have him in his territory. Jacob quickly turned, but his heart calmed to see a somewhat familiar face. The angel had returned, with his soulmate standing cautiously behind. It's okay. I don't mind you both being in my room. Hunter's eyes traced the wings. They took his breath away with their beauty, but they could never compete with the stunning shine of Jacob's eyes. Thank you, Hunter. Panu Leon turned and took Coria's hand. I can never quite tell. I've been told that werewolves are unpredictable with their territory. He thought. He seems fine. Maybe it's because we are from another world. Or maybe it's because we're not physical forms. Cory replied. Good point. They are seeing us through a mind portal. Nothing else. Why are you back? The werewolf asked, snapping them out of their conversation. We bring important news. From Elder Angels. What is it? Hunter motioned for them to sit as Jacob sat on the edge of the bed. The angel and his human soulmate placed themselves at the desk, still cautious of the werewolf. "Well, wit. We have been informed that there is an unusual relationship forming between an angel and a demon." The word demon made Jacob shudder. He's heard of the stereotype. They are always nasty, sinister, and evil creatures. Is that like really weird? Hunter questioned. Yes. I am yet to meet a nice demon who doesn't want to rip my wings off and kill me. Hunter raised his eyebrows. Well, that went downhill quickly. Jacob nudged him, seeing that the angel was incredibly serious. So is it like a bond forming between the angel and demon? Yes, and they will be a part of this war in the distant future. Who else will be part of it? Jacob asked quietly. Corey watched him fidget, and it reminded him of his son, who is also incredibly shy, quiet, and an introverted soul. Well, as a witch, well, many people. I will list off the influential couples who will be helping. Firstly, there is a vampire and a human, a half vampire and a half angel. Then us, an angel and a human. But now added to the list will be a demon and an angel. And of course, yourselves. Wow, confused? But wow. Hunter frowned, trying to process the many couples. And we'll get to meet them all. Of course. When the time is right. I am rather eager to meet the demon and angel. It's hard to imagine them ever getting along with each other. But everyone is different. Panu Leon. Can I ask, why are we all connected? What is going to happen that needs so many couples from different worlds? The angel flashed a glance towards his soulmate and shuffled uncomfortably in his seat. Great betrayal will turn into the biggest war our worlds have ever seen. Betrayal between who? We don't know yet. Maybe it will be between the worlds. The elder angels don't have answers for it yet. Will they? I don't know it. I'm just an average angel, but you're special. Jacob could feel his magnificent aura. Corey beamed and looked up, meeting his soulmate's eyes. He doesn't see it, but you're 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐼. He isn't just an average angel. No elder angel could have fought for their lives, and many others like he has. Panu Leon's cheeks were shining rosy red. He has always been incredibly modest, and no human would ever be as courageous as you, Corey. They smiled and stared deeply into one another's eyes. The love was incredibly vibrant, and Jacob could see a very, very strong bond between them. I hope we still express our love like that when we're their age. Hunter thought and slowly rested his warm fingers over Jacob's. I'm sure we will. Jacob turned over his hand and gripped them. So Hunter questioned, is that all you came to tell us about? I'd like to know more about your lives and the other world you live in when you have time. We can discuss that another day. And yes, we just wanted to share this information so you're a little prepared. But you have a long time to adjust. I hope you are both dealing with everything okay. I guess we are. It's still strange to think that you actually exist. And vampires. Corey chuckled. You'll love the vampires. They fit the stereotype. So do demons. This is so crazy. Jacob shook his head. I was struggling through college not even a month ago. Hunter felt that he was a little overwhelmed as he rubbed his back. And now you're a god of the werewolves. Corey smiled. But that didn't help. Jacob started to fidget and chew on his bottom lip. Things were circling his mind about why he was chosen for this. How could he be in charge of such a huge amount of responsibility at the age of 17? He is only just finding out who he is and what he wants out of life. It suddenly felt like too much. Hunter stared, knowing exactly what cogs were turning in his head. He could lose his stability with a click of a finger. He witnessed it many times when he was only living inside his head. I think it is time for us to leave. The angel hushed to his soulmate, seeing that the god needed time alone with Hunter. Thank you for letting us talk with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. He took a step back and shined his magnificent, filling the room up with their magical creamy glow. Oh my. Go, a voice breathed from the door. Everyone turned to see the beta wolf with his mouth wide open. His eyes were so big, they couldn't possibly go any wider. Are you an angel? The angel. Oh my god. Sorry, Jacob, but oh my god. I was so gutted when I missed out on seeing you the first time. Does he remind you of Oliver? Corey thought with a grin. Absolutely. Oliver is the soulmate of Vinnie Vanderwood, the vampire who lives in the other world. They will be helping with the war in the remote future. Oliver is a very hyper man and never knows when to stop talking and how to walk or do anything at a normal pace. He throws himself into everything head first and is incredibly positive. Hello. My name is Panu Leon. This is my soulmate. Corey. Sam placed his hands on his cheeks, clearly in awe. You have such an angelic name. Can I talk to you for a bit? His feet stood right on the line of where the carpet changed to wood, not daring to even put a toe into Hunter's room. We have about 10 minutes to spare. So of course, we would love to meet more werewolves. Panu Leon took Corey's hand and followed him down the corridor. You'll get William. He'll love to meet you both. Who is he? Another werewolf, Corey asked. No, 𝐊𝐢𝐳 brother. As they continued to talk, Hunter rubbed circles into Jacob's back with his thumb. The god was staring at the duvet, trying to collect his thoughts, not wanting to freak out. Not today. If you're going to break down on me, it's totally fine. It's not fine. He stood up and ran a hand through his hair. I'm a god. I can't just freak out. You can do whatever you want. You're not even 18 yet. Nobody expects you to cope. They expect me to fail. I didn't say that. Hunter tried to take his hands, but Jacob pulled away. What I mean is, they don't expect you to ease into it straight away. You have a lot to learn and a long time to learn it. You can take as long as you want. Nobody is judging you, or I just. Jacob sighed and relaxed his body, but the struggling thoughts were still vibrant. I'm having a bath. He turned and Hunter watched, knowing his head washed in a particularly good place. Wait, can you have a shower with me instead? Have a bath with me? Hunter paused when flashes of being thrown into the sea invaded his mind. He was not ready to be surrounded by water that sat up to his waist now. They watched each other, both expressing their insecurities openly. Jacob thought he was the one with all the problems, but when he got to know people a little more, he came to realize that everyone is struggling with something, no matter how big or how small. We are both such a mess. He leaned his back against the wall and sank down to the floor. Hunter walked over and sat next to him, making sure to push their shoulders together. Yep. He crossed his arms and stared at nothing selective. That's another thing that makes us suited. I just hide it until I'm in an uncomfortable situation. You basically leak with anxiety all day. Every day. I wish I could hide it like you can. We're all different. After meeting you, I've really understood that. Jacob slowly moved his head and rested it on Hunter's shoulder. His hair brushed the side of the werewolf's face and his heart sparkled in his chest. He still felt a little warm and fuzzy when he expressed affection. I am living the weirdest life right now. Good. Hunter smiled. That's how it should be. Who wants to be tied down to a job to earn money, just so we can live enough to somewhat enjoy ourselves? As we save money until we get old. Then when we're old, we are given the opportunity to live, but we're too tired and elderly to actually live it to our full potential. Humans definitely do not have it figured out yet. I don't think they ever will. Are you happy you're not one of them now? Jacob lifted his head into his beautiful gray eyes. He loved it when they were full of emotion. I never was human, but that's why I never managed to fit in. I was so much more because I was different. Well, I am different, and that's the best way to be, I think. When humans pretend to be something they're not, just so they can try to fit into their messed up societies. I'll be here, being weird with you. Jacob took a breath like he was fixing the jigsaw he broke. It took him a moment of vulnerability to regain his strength and to look at his life through untainted eyes. And that is where I will always fit. Chapter 87. Will. Sam yelled and banged on his door with both hands, hoping to grab his attention. Will, you have to see this. Corey and his angel stared at the big wood and door while they heard quick shuffling, coming from within the room. When it opened, A flustered-looking William stood in front of Sam with a towel around his neck. No t-shirts on and shorts which he had flung on so he could answer the door. His chest was still wet from his share caused droplets of water to drip down the side of his face. Sam's cheeks didn't hide the fact that he was blushing quite a lot. His eyes stared at William's chest longer than he anticipated. He pointed behind him and tried his hardest to keep his gaze connected with the humans. There's an angel and his soulmate here. William, who was oblivious to Sam's struggles, looked to where he pointed, and his eyes were instantly drawn to two magnificent white wings. 𝐻𝐚𝐿's eyes were slightly narrowed while he stared between the werewolf and the human. He could sense something, almost like a connection, and it was much stronger than a simple friendship. Jory? William's glossy eyes grew wide while he stared at the angel, and Sam stared at him. He never in his life thought that he would meet someone so inspirational and influential. Angels used to be the creatures who he hoped would watch over him when he was little and had nightmares. Grace used to tell him that they were always around him, making sure that the monsters would never hurt him when 𝐊𝐢𝐳 is sleeping. Hello, witch. It's a pleasure to meet such an important human. 𝐻𝐚𝐿 beamed. What? He nearly snorted with surprise. I'm not important, of course you are. He interrupted. You are the brother of a god. You are one of the most important humans in this world. William's heart was swept away with his kindness. Thank you so much. He glanced at Sam, who tried to divert his eyes, but they were lost in his sparkle. I'm speaking to an angel. He breathed, making Corey chuckle. 𝐻𝐚𝐿 linked his fingers together and tilted his head. Forgive me for asking, but are you two soulmates? Now Sam's cheeks went from a peachy salmon to a blazing fire. What? William frowned. Why did you say that? There's a vivid connection between you both. Are you waiting to connect? Pan, we need to go. The portal will close in 30 seconds. Corey tugged on his arm, making him lose focus. Well, hold on a second. You can't just come out with something like that and then leave. Sam furrowed his eyebrows with desperation. I apologize, but we have to go. The angel took his soulmate's hand and stood back. However, he wished he didn't mention it, as the look in William's eyes were that of guilt and confusion. Don't overthink it. My angel senses are not always correct. Corey squeezed his hand, knowing that was true. An angel is never wrong. Goodbye. He beamed in a blink of an eye. They vanished. Sam stared at the wall. His heart was beating so hard. He convinced himself that William could hear it. He didn't know what to say. Did the angel sense something? A bond, maybe. William stared at the back of Sam's head. So many thoughts were flying through his mind. He didn't know how to react to the angel's words. Why is this happening? He whispered. Sam turned and caught the extreme emotion leaking from his expression. We're not mates. Why does it feel so hard to just accept it? Boys look. They both jumped when Flora's voice startled them. She had successfully managed to sneak up the corridor without making a single noise of disturbance. You need to just trust this. Sam's frown remained deep within his forehead. Trust what? That when the right moment finds you, so will happiness. William, finding himself rather irritated about the confusion, leaned against the doorframe and crossed his arms over his bare chest. Why does everything have to be a riddle? Can you not just get straight to the point? Young William, don't direct that tone to a helpless old woman. I'm the connection between fate. I can't determine the outcome, but simply watch it take the correct path. Sorry, Flora. I didn't sleep well last night. He sighed. You're not helpless. Flora. Sam chuckled. And 𝐊𝐢𝐳 just sick of all these muddled up feelings. We're not mates. But then the angels suggest that maybe we are. And even you're talking like. Take a breath. You don't need to be this stressed about love. Yes, you don't know who it is and people are confusing you. But it will happen in your lifetime. Surely, you know your loyalty is treasured by lunar love. It just doesn't think you're ready yet. You're not mature enough to handle a mate without emotionally investing yourself into the relationship and disregarding your own feelings. Your role at this current chapter in your life is to be there for Hunter. He needs you more than he lets on. Sam's mouth subconsciously dropped open. How do you know me better than I know myself? His ears were ringing with ideas. But is it true that he'll find a mate at some point? He ignored the fact that he was too immature because he knows it's the truth. 𝐿𝐲 is so desperate to find love that if it was handed to him, he would be too overwhelming. Flora nodded with a satisfied smile. You will, but patience is all you need right now. Okay. Who is it? Samuel. Her eyes flickered to William. When the time is right, you'll find each other. With her words clearly embedded into the beta wolf's mind, she continued her journey down the corridor to find her daughter. Sam watched her, unable to calm his soul. I definitely have a mate, he breathed, in awe of the simple thought. When a gentle slam echoed behind him, he turned to face the Ridgewood of William's door. Hey, are you? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just getting changed. I'll meet you in the kitchen or something. He muffled through the timber. Sam could smell him and it fluttered his heart. All right. He stood for a moment, staring into space, trying to piece together his mind. So far, all his feeling landed on William, even if he tried to force them away. They agreed to be great friends, but Flora and the angel forced them to think otherwise. William was getting a headache from the constant changes in his emotion. He wanted to be free from Sam's affection because it hurt to see him so attached when he doesn't think they'll be bonded. Werewolves are so confusing. He breathed and dropped the towel from around his neck. Okay, I vote no to this idea. I don't care. We're going whether you want to or not. Noise. No. Hunter stared his father down. What's the issue? I don't want to spend the whole time explaining that. Yes, I'm gay and yes, my mate is a man and yes, I find men attractive. Anthony crossed his arms and smiled. Just tell them to shut up. Snog Jacob for a bit and then, well, go home. Hunter now looked satisfied. Okay. He reached out and grabbed Jacob, who entered the kitchen. He pulled him into his chest, alarming the boy, who dropped his phone onto the counter. We're going to see relatives. They want to meet you. Hunter pulled him so close that the tip of their noses touched. Today, Jacob whispered, enjoying his sudden warmth. Yes, Anthony added. We're going to see my aunt and uncle. They don't usually care about me, but they have heard that you're a shiny new addition to this family and are eager to suck up to you as much as possible. Wow, Jacob breathed, felt Hunter's hands run gently down his back. That was really truthful. Their faces were close enough for their lips to be touching. Yeah, well, I don't really have anything nice to say about them. Who abandons their nephew when his parents die? Not the Ray sons, Hunter added, which shocked Anthony. He tense or clench his jaw like he usually does at the mention of his deceased loved ones. Exactly. We're family. We have each other's backs. That's my motto. Scott entered the conversation when he handed Margot and Anthony some coffee. It's a shame not everyone sees it that way yet. So I'm not looking forward to. Anthony paused and stared at his phone with an approaching scowl. Great. They're coming here now. Margot groaned and dropped her head onto the polished counter. God forbid if I have a single thing out of place in this house. Are they really that bad? Jacob basked and pulled his head back so he could see Hunter's expression. I think so. I haven't seen them since, well, not for a long time. Jacob held onto the werewolf's elbows as Hunter's hands sat comfortably on his mate's waist. They said that it wasn't right for a god to travel just for their convenience. Anthony mumbled and started looking around for things to clean up. When will they get here? Margot questioned. In a few hours. Apparently, they have already set off. Anthony felt hurt by them coming to visit Jacob when he has reached out to them for so many years. When his parents died, they didn't offer him any form of support and cut him out of their lives like he didn't matter. He realized that they only put up with him because he was the kid of their sister. It'll be odd to see each other again. Yet he hoped they didn't bring up his parents. He didn't want to be swamped with emotional guilt, and neither did Hunter. Hunter put his legs over the side of the chair and stared at Jacob. Sit on my knee. The god frowned and hovered by the door with a cup of tea in his hands. Kindly made by Flora. I don't really sit. Hunter patted his knees with a twinkle of affection. Are you sure 𝐻𝐬𝐧𝐬? Sam questioned, receiving a light smigger from Anthony. Jacob, with red cheeks, sat on the chair like Hunter was underneath him and also swung his legs over the side of the armrest. I said sit, not suffocate. He breathed and turned his head so Joe pressed onto his cheek and not his nose. Your 𝐸 so heavy. It's all that muscle. William sighed. I'm still in need of a gym buddy if you're up for it, Sam suggested. Yeah, but you'll have to drag me there. I'm good at talking myself out of everything. Oh, I will. Are you a fan of early morning workouts? William looked horrified at the thought. Kidding. Well, well, sort of. I think it depends on the day. I feel different some mornings and, as Sam continued to rant, Jacob realized that his tea wasn't hot anymore, so he drank it all. Flora watched him take big gulps, and it was only after he finished it. A horrible burning sensation filled the back of his throat. His mouth was submerged in a foul taste. His breath caught in his throat and Hunter felt him tense. That was horrible. I think the milk was off. His crude-up features relaxed when the burning subsided. Hunter took his cup and smelt it, but because Jacob was underage, he wasn't familiar with the taste, or scent. Why does this smell like alcohol? All eyes fell on Flora, who was smelling her own cup. For goodness sake. I gave Jacob the wrong tea. She sighed, but Hunter knew her well enough to know that it was no accident. A drop of vodka won't hurt him. Nana, you put vodka in your tea. You only live once, my boy. Alfred chuckled. Everyone didn't know whether they should laugh or be concerned. How much was in it? Margot questioned. She knew her mother was a little loopy, but slipping alcohol into her tea was rather disgusting. Only 4 shots. Even William raised his eyebrows. 𝐿 by Drake Nathan and 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳, as an undocumented changeling, been forced to pose as a low-level witch. Jacob doesn't drink. This will go straight into his bloodstream. Scots it up. Now more concerned than amused. He can't be drunk when your relatives are coming. Oh, Anthony. Margot warned. He might be okay. It might not affect him that much. Jacob put the cup on the side and sat up. The horrible taste lingered on his tongue and the burning had slowly moved down to his chest. I feel fine. You won't in about 15 minutes. Hunter shook his head and laughed. Even I can't down 4 shots of vodka and be okay afterwards. Nana, you have a problem. You've got that right. Flora grinned. But come on now. What's so bad about this? These relatives are not going to be very nice. At least this will give Jacob the confidence to be himself around strangers. Okay. There's the alcoholic within you talking. Anthony added. But this is not good. Sam, can you get Jacob some water? Please. And lots of it. Chapter 88. Jacob started to drink the water and his focus was already slowing down. He never thought alcohol would taste so revolting, and he had no idea how he could tell if he was getting drunk or not. Are you okay? You need to drink it all. Hunter placed his fingers on the bottom of the glass and lifted it. Jacob followed the pace and drank quickly, but his sense of balance was also starting to deteriorate. Dad, can I get drunk too? No, you can, baby, said Jacob. Or me. I could use a drink. He might be fine if he drinks enough. Before Hunter could finish, the doorbell echoed through the house. Oh gosh. Margot didn't know why she was so worried about being judged. She didn't care if these people liked her or not. It was Jacob's reputation that was on the line. Get him more water. Everyone watched her rush down the corridor. Even though the water most likely won't filter out the vodka, they had to try something. Even Sam was a little nervous for him. Jacob, can you feel yourself getting drunk? Hunter asked and placed another pint of water in his hand. I don't know how it feels. He blinked slowly and frowned at the lack of focus. Hunter grinned. He has wondered what Jacob would be like drunk. 4 shots will not get him immensely off his face with alcohol, but it might make him sick in an hour or 2. Hello? Come in. Margot's voice echoed into the room, but they didn't hear a response. When the door shut, Footsteps could only be detectable as everyone climbed to their feet, ready to greet them. Jacob stood up and the room performed a huge spin, making him stumble into Hunter, who placed a firm arm around his waist, holding their sides securely together. This is going to be rather entertaining, he thought, and gripped him tighter. This is, I feel really weird. Hunter simply smiled when his relatives entered the room. However, his grandmother's sister looked just like her, and he altered his proud stance. It caught him off guard, and a wave of weakness invaded his stability. "Where is the god?" the man demanded. He shared the same colored hair as 𝐼𝐻𝐻 and those gray eyes that popped against his olive skin. 𝐻𝐻𝐻 frowned when his aunt and uncle completely ignored him. "Excuse me, you cannot be serious." He sighed and crossed his arms. Margot rubbed his back, which she knew would calm him. "You can't just walk into." "Anthony, do not be rude in the presence of the god." The man silenced him with eyes full of disapproval. "Where is that wife of yours? I need a cup of tea." Anthony clenched his hands as Scott stood up, seeing that things were not starting out good. "Oh, no, Anthony's uncle interrupted. "That's a woman's job." Everyone in the room fell silent. An awkward atmosphere crept in through the door. The tension was building as the visitors tried to be superior with their old-fashioned views. "They are definitely homophobic if they are living in the Dark Ages." Hunter grumbled, but he could feel Jacob depending more on his support to stay standing up straight. "Don't you dare," Anthony spoke calmly. "My wife has the freedom to do whatever she pleases. She is a person, not an object. Do not even think about telling her what to do." Well, I see we are off to a good start." Anthony's uncle turned to his sister with a faint smirk. "Liz, make me some tea." The woman showed a hint of jealousy towards Margot, but did as he demanded and turned to find the kitchen. "Unbelievable," Alfred muttered. He would never even think about ordering Flora like that. She would most likely drug him if he even tried. In this day and age, who still believes that women are only useful for doing jobs around the house. "So, where is the god?" "Randy, you haven't seen me in years. Do you not care about me and my family? Look at Hunter. He's 18 and grown up." Anthony was challenging him with the look in his eyes. "Hunter. How pathetic." Randy turned and looked at his nephew's son. It was true that he was growing into a strong and stable-looking young man. However, the past was written all over his face. "Do you really think I came here to be associated with the boy who caused my sister to die?" There are moments for Hunter when his hearing appears to be broken. It felt like his head was suddenly submerged within a sink full of ice-cold water. Everything felt numb, quiet, still and empty. Flora quickly climbed to her feet with a raging fire burning in her gaze, trying to overpower him with her small frame. "Are you aware that the god is standing in this room? Listening to your repulsive beliefs and hearing you talk with such a disrespectful manner towards his mate?" she questioned, almost trembling with rage. "Oh, I'm very aware that Hunter is mated to another man who is in fact the god of wolves. Honestly, how does such royalty allow that? To men together? It is simply wrong." Jacob stood with confidence when he made eye contact with Randy. A moment of clarity washed through his twisting mind. "My son can love whoever he wants." Scott frowned. "Who are you to tell him what's right and what's wrong?" "Yeah." William added and subconsciously stood closer to Sam. "Why are you so closed-minded?" "I'm not. I've just had a correct upbringing." "What? So Mum didn't?" Anthony questioned. "She would have loved 𝐊𝐿𝐴 and my son being together. She taught me that love is one kind of feeling, shared between everyone no matter who they are. She didn't let Dad treat her like some slave. She had rights and fought for them." "Who the hell raised you?" "Because it was who raised her." Randy crossed his arms and looked his nephew up and down with filth in his gaze. "She would be so disappointed. Don't give me that crap." He scoffed. "Did you ever think about why she barely visited you or Liz? She knew you were bad influences for our child and wanted him to be raised without being encouraged by the way you think." Anthony turned towards his son, who was fighting against his feelings, trying to keep the tears away. 𝐊𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴. He took a breath of air, calming his heart. And 𝐊𝐴𝐧𝐿𝐴 perfect. Liz entered the room with tea for her brother. However, she heard what has been said. You know what? Randy flung his hand, knocking the tea out of his sister's grip. The eyes in the room followed it through the air until it smashed against the wall, sending tea and bits of broken pottery all over Flora. She flinched and cried out from the heat of the liquid. The mouths in the room gasped while Alfred frantically wiped her face and brushed away the broken clay from her lap. Are you all right, my dear? He questioned and gently took off her glasses so he could wipe them clean. All the werewolf's blood was instantly boiling in their veins. I wish Hunter'd drowned in that lake instead of our sister and her husband. He doesn't deserve a god. He deserves nothing because he hasn't earned enough. Jacob yelled. His voice was deep and powerful, instantly silencing Randy. A low growl sent shivers down his arms. The god stepped forwards, feeling the sway of the alcohol, but his godly mind was not prepared to let it in. How dare you talk about him like that? What gives you the right to say such insulting things to my mate? Scott was surprised, but he was more concerned about the fact that Hunter looked like he was about to break down into an emotional state. He couldn't imagine how he must be feeling. His family are blaming him for ending the lives of the ones who he loves with all his heart. Poor Hunter. There was nothing he could have done to make the tragedy any better, and they know that. He could have. Shut up. Jacob glared cold and hard. You're sexist. Homophobic and just an idiot. What did you think you would gain from coming here? Throwing a few insulting words around, spilling tea on Flora and upsetting Hunter. He hiccuped and frowned when the room started spinning again. You've angered me. The electricity popped onto his palms like someone flicked a switch. Randy and Liz watched with a sudden sense of amazement and wonder while the little bolt started to twist and turn around his fingers. I can only apologize. Liz breathed, her eyes transfixed on the yellow glow. My brother. He is a god and imbecile. Honestly, my sister was right to move away and to start her own life. If I had found my mate, I would have left too. We can't all be lucky enough to be alphas and find a mate at 18. Hunter, none of this is your fault. You were just a boy and I don't ever want to put myself in your shoes. Gosh. Randy, you are such a sick person to put all the blame on him. I thought you only wanted to see the god, not stir an argument. Randy looked incredibly mortified and shocked, not expecting her to speak up for herself. Jacob's confidence was oozing from him because he was reaching the maximum tipsy stage. His thoughts were reckless and not filtered, as were the words that came out of his mouth. You should be ashamed of yourself. He pointed a finger with a deep frown. If he stumbled, they would have suspected alcohol to be in his system. But for now, he looked a little lethargic. You're old. You're supposed to know when to shut up. William and Sam tried to keep their sniggers quiet while Margot stared at her son, who continued to look incredibly distraught. He needed a long cry to get everything out of his system, but, of course,
he didn't want to do that in front of everyone.
Anthony, I have missed you. Liz took a step in his direction, but Randy lifted his hand, getting ready to express his anger through violent actions. However, once his hand was in the air and Liz had flinched, it didn't move. Jacob was staring at it intensely, using his telekinesis to keep it where it was. After taking a few uneasy steps forwards, Randy realized that his feet were planted to the ground, stopping him from cowering away. The god had such a profound atmosphere. He was incredibly dominant. Power floated all around him. Lifting his own fist, he did what nobody expected him to do and punched Anthony's uncle hard in the face, causing his head to fall back. His body didn't move because he wouldn't allow it to. I can see right into your soul. It is dirty and disgusting. You're a pathetic old man with nothing worth living for. He punched him again. This is for being mean. He then punched him again, causing the blood to seep from his nose. This is for spilling tea on Flora. He punched him a third time, relaxing his powers and allowing him to fall back against the wall. And that is for upsetting my werewolf. He punched him one final time so he collapsed onto the floor. Nobody upsets my mate. Everyone in the room was shocked. Jacob had not only found his confidence, he has stood up for what is right and defended himself and others. William thought back to when he couldn't even stand up for himself when Brad was bullying him in college. Now he wasn't prepared to just let it happen. You know what? Hunter spoke up after talking himself out of having a serious breakdown. You deserve that. And you know what else? Nothing is my fault. I've let it go. It's gone and nothing about that day will ever change, so just accept and get on with your life like my grandparents would have wanted us to. Jacob pulled Randy up by the scruff of his collar. He stumbled slightly before pushing him hard into the door. You need to leave. Like right now. He was starting to feel more affected by the alcohol with every passing minute. Liz followed Randy, feeling very embarrassed. Her brother was struggling to walk properly due to Jacob's strong punches. If he was human and not a werewolf, he would have most likely been knocked unconscious. She turned, needing to say one last thing. You'll visit again. Looking at Anthony. Guilt filled her eyes. You look so like your mother. Margot squeezed her husband's arm when a flow of sorrow ran through them both. Alfred had his arm around Flora while everyone watched them walk towards the front door, not quite believing the visit was so intense. When the front door slammed shut, the eyes in the room fell upon each other. Jacob's bloody knuckles were healing fast when he rested against the wall. His mind was drifting from one topic to another. Is everyone okay? Scott questioned, needing to break the silence. He received generic replies, but nobody was really feeling fine after meeting such a repulsive man. I'm great. Jacob smiled clumsily, slowly forgetting how harsh the air felt. I'm glad somebody is. Hunter walked over to his Nana to see if she was all right while his parents followed him with their gaze. Although he was feeling rather settled, seeing Jacob stick up for him in such a way was oddly heartwarming. He was violent because he was protecting him, and he liked that. William and Sam smiled at each other, determined to keep their relationship out of any awkward situations, whatever happens between them. Through thick and thin, Jacob slid down the wall and sank to the ground with his knees pulled up against his chest. Jacob. Stott crouched in front of him, not liking how violent he was, but some part of him thought that Randy deserved it. Come on. You need to have some food that will absorb some of the alcohol. No, Jacob frowned. I'm fine. Honest. I really am. Hunter crouched in front of him too. You're really not. Jacob reached out and pulled him closer. Kiss me. He winked and pulled their faces together rather clumsily. Hunter pulled back with a goofy grin. We get some fresh air. No, let's take a bath together. Jacob wrapped his arms around Hunter's neck and hugged him tightly. You're going to be so embarrassed when you're sober. Hunter thought. Come on. Let's get some food in you. Do you have any chicken? We can eat it in the bath. Everyone chuckled while Hunter and Scott pulled him to his feet. How romantic. But no. We'll eat together in the kitchen, lie. He pouted and started pulling the bottom of Hunter's shirt up, exposing his belly button. Kiss me then. Hunter's cheeks were slightly pink, feeling the embarrassment for him. You're so needy when you're drunk. And just everything you're not when you're sober. It's because 𝐊𝐲 confident. Scott chuckled and patted his son's shoulder. Come on, Jay. I'll make you a sandwich. Only Hunter can call me Jay. Oh, well, I apologize. Scott shook his head with a smile. Why is that? The alpha wolf fast. Because you called me at once and I liked it. Scott held his hand, stopping him from grabbing a picture off the wall as they made their way towards the kitchen. You never said. I never say a lot of things. Jacob fell into the island in the middle of the kitchen and it took a lot of effort for him to sit on the stool. That's very true. Hunter stood behind him, resting his chest against his back and wrapping his arms around his waist, not wanting him to fall off. Jacob rested the back of his head against Hunter's shoulder, feeling tired and strange. Don't worry, he mumbled after closing his eyes. Feeling Hunter's warmth all around him was extremely comforting. In the future, I will be myself. Hunter looked down and stared at his face, keeping track of the tiniest details. You'll be looking forwards to meeting the real Jacket, A. Jones. Scott smiled at the mention of his son's real name. He used to call him it when he was little and Grace was out of the room. When his son got older, he called him get away with it because he wasn't ready for him to know his fated future. He should have split up with Grace many years ago. Then Jacob might have found his true identity. After putting a mountain of chicken in Jacob's sandwich, he placed it in front of him and shook his shoulder. Jacob opened his eyes and was instantly distracted by food. Scott stared at Hunter in the meantime, not seeing any form of distress like he did earlier. You're perfect for him. Well, I guess. You're perfect for each other. You have no idea how grateful I am that you're his mate. Hunter, you are a wonderful person, but we all have our demons. Don't let yours haunt you forever. Hunter watched his brown eyes, seeing the similarities between him and his son. I won't. Meeting Jacob has changed my life. I don't know how I got through the day without him. I know that he never thought he would ever mean so much to anyone. But that's why I'm so determined for him to realize how much he means to me. I feel like my life is a book and this is the last chapter. But there's a sequel. Scott beamed with kind eyes. You're starting fresh with all this new knowledge about other worlds, other people, and of course, the war that will happen. You have so much left to write. I hope you never find yourself struggling for words. Hunter watched the god, his mate, his boyfriend, and the one who held love for the rest of his life. This is corny, but it's definitely the beginning of something special. Looking up to Scott, the sparkle of excitement reflected within his beautiful gray eyes. And I'm ready. The end. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like. Please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.